your focus changes so much. I try not to watch. You wind up watching so much TV with all that's going on, and the world is ending, but it's not. They say that every generation since Adam and Eve has said, "Oh no, this is it. It's over. It's all going to end." And I remember what Carlin said: the world is not going to end. We might not be here, but the world is going to be fine.
That's a great bit that he does. Yeah, that's a genius bit that he does.
Yeah. Don't worry about the world. It ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Funny. Well, I'm just going to say welcome to Brain Wrestling. My name is Derek Christopher. I am here with Walter Jacobson. And Walter, we have, I consider one of the greatest comedians of all time. This guy, pound for pound.
That is patently absurd.
He is one of the funniest fucking people on the face of the planet. And he's got an incredible documentary out now called Joke Man. So, Jackie, the Joke Man Martling, welcome to Brain Wrestling.
I am thrilled to be here. It's nice to see you. I owe you. We've hit and missed a few times, but along the way, we've become very good friends. Say hello to your gorgeous wife for me.
I absolutely would.
And I don't know who Walter's fucking, but good luck to you.
Well, by the end of the show, you may know.
I'll send the regards nonetheless. Yes.
All right, that's great. Do you know a comedian named Tom Rhodes?
I know the name.
Well, I got a guy that moved to. It's so funny. A guy I went to high school with, a couple of years younger. He married this nice girl, and they started a schmata company, of a clothesline. And it started doing incredible. And it went to the moon. And so they wound up moving from our little hamlet to this place, Lloyd's Neck, which is like a ridiculously exclusive piece of land in an already exclusive, crazy area. And they're making so much money. But this guy would travel overseas to China, to Thailand, to wherever he had to go to get the material they needed, in bulk. And he'd ship it back, and they'd make these incredible clothes and made all this money. And he'd go on these ventures, once or twice a year or every couple of years. And one year he went to Thailand, and he wrote back, "I'm not coming home." And he stayed there. This is like 30 years ago. He lives in Phuket, which is so funny because it's spelled fuck it, P-H-U-K. I said, "Roy, you moving to fuck it?" And actually he was. And he's like, he died and went to heaven. And to this day, and for 30 years, he keeps sending me little snippets of who's at the comedy club and where the comedy clubs are. And I've been really looking for something to do. And I really want to go somewhere. So I'm thinking, fuck it. I would go to Thailand. And I see that Comedy Club Bangkok, and this guy, Tom Rhodes, is there, but he's like an American. So I said, let me see. So I contacted him through his website, and they wrote back. I haven't spoken to him yet, but I think I got an actual inroad to go work at Bangkok. You may never see me again. Either I might get killed, or I might find myself a beautiful little Thai girl who actually thinks my penis is enormous because she's so little, which would be absolutely spectacular. But
that's an interesting question, though. With the way things are going, and in America and whatnot, Jackie, would you ever consider actually leaving the U.S.? Are you over it?
No, I don't think ever. I don't think I'd ever leave Bayville. I worked my whole life with the dream of having a house on the water here in Bayville, and I'm in my dream house.
Yeah.
And I have no money, but my house is paid for, and I do my gigs, and still, and I got, a beautiful girlfriend. We just have a very, very nice life. Would it be a nice life if if the water rises 10 feet? Yes. If it rises 20 feet, I'm done.
See, if it rises 50 feet, I have oceanfront property, so I'm good.
Yeah. Nice tsunami. You're all set.
Jesus.
I'm hoping for global warming.
Jackie.
I keep telling people between the craziness of the elections and the parties and climate change and North Korea and China and Israel and all the insanity and watch it with all our pulling our fucking hair out. And all of a sudden one day we're just going to get wiped out by a fucking asteroid and none of this is going to wind up having mattered at all. You know, who the fuck knows? Nobody knows what's going to happen. You know, things change in a heartbeat. Every day they come up with something else to really scare the shit out of you.
But
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what's so funny?
What we've done to this planet, we've done damage in ways we haven't even started to assess yet.
Yeah.
Hey,
You know,
Jackie.
and all of a sudden they tell you
Jackie.
there's plastic in everybody's blood. I'm like, fuck me. What do you want,
Jackie.
Walter?
Hello.
Sorry.
Wait a second. Talk to me.
I was wrestling.
Yeah, he's
Listen,
wrestling.
I want you to wrestle. I want to know what have you experienced woke garbage and bullshit in your comedy stuff? Do people get offended by what you say now? Because
I am a woke guy. No, I'm not a woke. You know, I just do what I've always done as far as my life and as far as people. I still piss off the world because I sit down in a diner and I call the waitress honey. And I don't give a flying fuck. It couldn't be warmer. It couldn't be gentler. My father called everybody honey. That's just, if that's politically incorrect, go fuck yourself, you know, type thing. And my jokes have kind of gotten gentle or something. Like if you listen to my first couple CDs, there's so much wackier and more not racist but more Chinese jokes and black jokes and Jewish
that stuff was funny. And it is funny.
But they have tapered off. But they haven't tapered off because all of a sudden the woke thing, just over time, I censored not even censored. My act is, developed just the way it has. But I've never said I better not do that because somebody, some woke person is going to get upset. Because the bottom line is, the minute you tell a joke about marriage, theoretically every woman in the place is going to have your head, but that's not true because it's just as funny to them.
But Jackie, we talked about this. Walter, Jackie and I had lunch in New York City, and I was talking about a time there was on the Howard Stern show. I think it was the Channel 9 show where Howard did a bit where he was dressed up as Ted Danson in blackface, and Sherman Helmsley was dressed up as Whoopi Goldberg, and it was the most racist, vile thing, and it was so fucking funny. And Jackie goes, "Yeah, I was like 3 feet away handing Howard the lines."
Yeah, and I was, I was sitting right at their feet, and we're basically doing every horrendous black joke, but Howard's telling them, and I don't know, I don't even remember who was the girl and who was the guy, but Sherman Hemsley was such a good sport, and he was so much fun, and
he was Whoopi. He was Whoopi, and Howard was Ted.
Yeah, and he loved us, so we could do no wrong. But we didn't go into that with all those jokes in mind.
Yeah,
like all of a sudden when Howard went there a little bit and Sherman reacted to it and laughed so hard, I just saw a green light and started writing the most. I don't even know if that is on, everything's on YouTube, and that one might not be because it's so over the top.
It's on YouTube because I show it to people. But how do we get, back then, did that offend anybody? I don't think, I'm sure a couple people said something, but there's no way you could do that today.
I'm sure it did because, I hate saying the N-word because when you say that, you might as well say it, but that's always been super offensive.
Yeah.
But everything is in context, and if it's meant to be ridiculous, but there are always going to be people that, you just pluck it out of context and you don't do this, you don't do this. And then what you do is turn off the fucking dial and go fuck yourself, But
do you find yourself, do you censor yourself?
No, I don't react to anybody. Nobody, anybody at this point. It's so funny. People come up and say, "Oh, I saw you at Governor's 30 years ago." I'm like, well, where the fuck have you been for 30 years? How am I supposed to make a living if you come once every 30 years? But I don't, by this time, people know what I do. They know who I am. They know what I do. and they just come expecting to laugh. And that's, nobody's sitting out there keeping score or what I should say or what, I don't think anybody's ever come up and said, do you really think you should tell? No.
Yeah.
There was one joke I told the other night, and I actually wrote an email to I had a bunch of friends in the crowd, like about a dozen friends, that guy Walter and his sister, and a bunch of people. And I told the joke, and this occasionally happens because I go very fast. And occasionally, like I'll leave something out, which is so funny because it hasn't happened in a long time. But I used to have very funny things, what I'll explain in a minute. But I was doing a joke and I left out just one phrase, but it completely changed the flavor. That's funny considering the joke it is. But
now you intentionally left it out?
No, and this never happens to me. And I just inadvertently, I probably hadn't done my act in a couple of weeks, and I go up there and do an hour, boom, 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 boom. It's a Broadway play, and I don't usually miss a phrase.
Yeah.
But I left out one thing, but the toothpaste was out of tube, and I wasn't going to stop my show to go back and correct them and say what. But the joke is a guy comes into a sperm bank with a paper bag over his head and a gun. And he points it at the receptionist. She says, no, this is not a regular bank. It's a sperm bank. He says, I know what it is. Open that refrigerator. And she opens the refrigerator and says, take out one of the bottles. And she takes out one of the bottles and says, take off the cap. She takes off the cap. He says, all right, drink it down. And she drinks it down. He takes off the bag. It's her husband. He says, see, it ain't so bad. Okay. which is very filthy and horrible, but it's a husband, wife. Obviously, he's frustrated because his wife won't swallow. But I left out, he takes off the bag. I left out, it's her husband.
Yeah.
So it made it into a joke where a guy came in with a gun and forced the girl to drink sperm. And then, said, yeah, ain't so bad. Huh? And like, it sounds like a little thing, but I said to them, I want you to know that more thought goes into my act than you think. Because I would never tell it like that. If it's a tension between a wife and a husband, that's a whole different scenario.
But it's kind of, it's funnier in a sick way without saying that. I mean, it's like a really fucked up joke then if you don't say it's the husband.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. But the thing is, that's where even thieves have borders, like there's things I'll do and things I won't do. And that just, it kind of made it into like almost like a rape joke. I had a joke the other day. I had a joke on, I put jokes on Twitter. I'll put a few jokes and then put a plug or something like that. And I put a joke and somebody responded, they said, Jackie, rape jokes aren't funny anymore. I'm like, what's he thinking about? And I went and read them and I realized, holy fuck, I never thought of it as that, but the guy was absolutely right. And I pulled it off and replaced it with a different joke. The joke was, what did the 7 dwarfs say when Snow White came out of her trance? And they said, well, I guess it's back to jerking off. But that's like, they were fucking in her sleep, and that's a rape joke. Once there's a dwarf involved, I'm already laughing, so I'm not thinking about it. And I was like, they're absolutely right. And
but that's a cartoon. That was a cartoon anyway. I mean, I still think people are oversensitive. That guy, it's a funny joke.
He's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I
think, I understand.
I choose to agree. Sometimes.
Hey, what do you think of Stern? I mean, I think he has turned woke.
I don't listen. I have no opinion. I have no idea. I haven't listened. Although I'm a raging liberal, and I absolutely hate Donald Trump, and I love the fact that we got a fighting chance in this election. That's the only thing. That's the only thing I agree with Howard on. Because I know that people keep writing to me and going, aren't you glad you got away from Howard till he turned into this fucking raging liberal? And I don't write back, but I would write back, that's the only thing I agree with him on.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that he's a tall, cheap fuck and blah, 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 you know, which is all, and that's just, you know, and that's just perspective. You know,
Well,
he did
here,
plenty good for me, you know.
Here, let me ask you guys both about media. Like with the DNC, you remember when Walz's son came up and he was screaming, "That's my dad" and whatnot. You had conservative media. Like I think it was Ann Coulter said, "Oh, that kid is weird," and there was some conservative radio host Jay Weber that said called him a little bitch boy. Now they didn't know that he had a learning disability or was on the spectrum, whatever.
Of course,
but still,
he did.
But how do you fuck with the how do you fuck with the 17-year-old to begin with?
Well, yeah, why even bother doing? Why even bother doing that and criticizing the kid? Why don't you just stick to the reality of it's two parties? Which one do you want to elect, rather than ridiculing family?
Yeah, ridiculing a kid and a kid who's got a learning disability.
Well, the good news about Ann Coulter is she's almost thin enough to slip through her cunt and strangle herself. So, and that'll be a fine day for everyone.
Well, Jackie,
she doesn't like Trump. She doesn't like Trump.
Jackie,
she doesn't like anything. She doesn't like anything. You know?
But she said she's going to vote for Trump. 2-3 weeks ago, she said she's going to vote for him.
I don't,
really?
You know,
yeah.
To quote my old friend Richard Belzer, physical science has yet to come up with a unit of measurement small enough for me to express how much I could give a fuck about Ann Coulter.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, like who gives a shit, you know?
Jackie, what was your takeaway from the DNC? What did you think of the convention?
Oh, I thought you meant this. That was like one of those vagina scrapes. What is that? Isn't that a DNC?
It could be. I don't know. Maybe they.
No, I thought I didn't watch the whole thing, but you know, but I loved it, and I am so nostalgic for Obama and Michelle. They were all so great. You know.
Now, what do you think about Joe?
You know, I love the guy. You know, he's old, and you know, and we're all going to get old. You know, and he did the right thing, and I don't care if they put a gun to his head or not. Whatever you know, if in the end you do the right thing, it's not really that important how you got there. It is, I'm sure, to a lot of people. But the bottom line is it's much better. And I love the way that, you know, the Republicans were screaming that the Democrats were putting on a circus.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did I not see Hulk Hogan and fucking Kid Rock?
Kid Rock.
You know, it's all, but it's all just such bullshit.
It's all theater.
You know, I really do believe that Trump would love for the world to end. Just on with his dying breath, I'm sure he would love to fall on the fucking nuclear button. You know, and I really believe that. You know,
why is that though? What's the psychology of Donald Trump not giving a shit about anybody, but still being so popular?
I don't. People are stupid. You know, years ago, like 20 years ago, somebody said, "Are you ever going into politics?" And Trump literally said, "If I ever do, I'll be a Republican because those people are so stupid." But he came on the Stern Show so many times that he must come on at least 5 times. And me and Fred hated him, and it had nothing to do. He wasn't a politician, and it wasn't. I didn't care how many girls he was banging or how much money he had. He just reeked of being impressed with himself.
Yeah.
And so entitled, and he was the only one in the room. And
right.
You know, and I'm sure, you know, from growing up without a lot of money and stuff, you know, like I'm sure there's a certain amount of jealousy. It's always hard to, you know, people say, "Oh, how do you like this comedian? How do you like that actor?" Like, you know, you got to try and factor out around your jealousy and your, you know, your envy. But he was just so unlikable.
Well, that's interesting.
And so many people came on that show were so thrilled to be there.
Yeah.
That they liked all of us, you know. So,
but
you know,
I mean, Walter, what is it? I know, Walter, you're going to vote for Trump over.
I got to clarify something. I'm not voting for Trump. And Jackie, I voted for Obama twice. As a Democrat my whole life. I'm not voting for Trump, but I am voting for a Republican because Jackie, the last 4 years have really bothered me. I think with open borders, and I think with the lawlessness and the no bail,
Wait. Before you go there,
Wait,
before you go
no,
there,
no,
you
let
have-
me
Well,
finish.
I'm not arguing.
Let me
it.
finish.
That's all bullshit. That's
Oh,
all
no,
bullshit.
all the super woke shit that you know that you're talking about with Stern, it's going to happen worse. Everything's going to get worse. It has. Trump is a. I agree with you. He's an asshole and a corrupt, and I don't like him at all. But
you're
I'm
gonna vote for
afraid
him.
of this open border shit. It's really the economy, the woke shit, the DEI stuff.
So you're not paying attention to the facts and figures, and I don't want to debate this, but he's not going to do anything. He's not going to do anything to help the country.
Of course
Trump,
not.
You know, the
No,
only
he's
thing he
not.
did was
But what the Democrats are doing, they're going to affect the
blocking them
country.
from
That's
putting
my
through
point.
him blocking them, putting through the bill to try and do some work on the border just so he can get elected. That is
Exactly
just the epitome of the worst American you could possibly be.
Absolutely. And I don't know why people don't see that.
I don't
Hey,
see
look,
how you could.
what I don't
you
understand.
could really look at Kamala Harris and not think that she has the best for the country in mind. Can you really say that?
4 weeks ago, her approval rating was lower than Joe Biden, or 6 weeks ago.
No, I'm not asking you what everybody else thinks. I'm asking you what you think.
What I think is that when her track record, her actual experience is not good. She put black people in jail for smoking dope. She wouldn't let them out. She gave them stiff sentences.
That's what people were doing then.
Look,
that's what they were doing. Obama was against gay marriage.
Yeah,
you're
allowed to change.
She has done nothing positive. And the last 3 years,
are you saying she can't change? That she can't evolve?
No, it's not about her or Biden. There are people who are pulling their strings. Those people, their policies and strategies, I don't agree with.
See, but why do you always say that? Why do you think Trump always has his own mind and he's his own man and he can do his own thing? People on the Democrat side, and Jackie, let me say, I'm a Republican, but I'm not.
You're not a Republican. You're not a Republican.
I'm more Republican than you are.
I'm not. I don't want to talk politics anymore. But if you don't vote for her, you're voting for Trump.
Well, he said I'm trying to figure out. You said
if you vote
for Trump, but you're voting for a Republican.
If you vote for anybody but her, that's a wasted vote that could go towards something good.
Look, if you're happy with the last
pussy,
listen, I love you, buddy, but if you're happy with the last 3 years with the decline of the country, then enjoy the next 4 years because it's going to be the same shit, if not worse.
We'll agree to disagree, Jackie. I think.
Yeah, because everything does not fall into the lap of the president and the vice president, but especially not the vice president. I mean, that's absurd. It's like when Trump says, "Look at this, gas prices went down 20 cents today. I did that." No, you didn't. It's all.
I hate all of it. They're all liars and thieves. On both parties are corrupt. There should be 3 or 4 party system where we get a choice to vote for whoever we want. And it might even have been RFK for some people. But
I want to talk briefly about RFK. I mean, here's a guy, Walter, that you've been just like heralding for the last year as being the great hope. And this guy ended up being a total whore and selling himself out and doesn't give a shit. He's totally self-serving. Everything about RFK Jr. is self-serving, and the guy's a lunatic.
If you don't see him as anything but a piece of shit, it's just if 12 members of your own family disavow what you're doing, how much do you need?
Okay, I will tell you, you know what? I know he's a freak in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of problems with the guy, but there's 2 things about him that I admire. One is he fought Monsanto, who was poisoning everybody, and he fought.
Okay, yes, that's good.
And let me also mention that he's, in my opinion, he's right about Fauci and the vaccines.
Please stop. We got to stop this conversation. Do you know how many kids are dying again of measles because people aren't doing the regular vaccines we did as children?
That's entirely different. That's a different topic. Completely.
It's not different.
No, it's the exact same thing.
The vaccines were never tested. The vaccines were never, the COVID vaccines were never properly tested. They are dangerous and ineffective. And that's the truth, whether you guys want to believe it or not.
No, it's not. It's not, number one. And if that's enough to make people stop getting polio vaccines, and measles vaccines because all vaccines are bad.
No, that's stupid.
No, but
That's really fucking stupid, and that's the people you're talking about.
RFK never said don't take.
But
RFK never said don't take
Walter,
vaccines. He
Walter,
said take
it
them
snowballs.
responsibly. What?
It snowballs. It snowballs. It starts with a little conspiracy theory here, and another person says it, another person says it. That conspiracy theory keeps growing into a bigger and bigger.
The vaccines being dangerous. The vaccines
everything.
being dangerous and ineffective is
well, as we talked about before, every fucking medication is.
It's not. It's not the same. It's not a conspiracy. Those things kill people and give
those
people myocarditis. It's real.
You're going to say those vaccines did not save millions and millions of lives.
Jackie, he's going to tell you they didn't.
I absolutely going to say they didn't, and absolutely didn't. And the fact
you're
that they
look,
Obama and Biden,
you're a moron.
Okay, good. Biden and Obama said, you take this vaccine, you will never get COVID. I know people.
No. They never said you would never get it. They said
yes, they did.
It alleviates some of the symptoms.
Yes, they did.
All right.
Look at the tape. Yes, they did. No. And the point is, I know people who've had vaccines and 4 boosters, and they've gotten COVID 2 or 3 times, and they go, well, thank God I got the vaccine because I really would have been sick. Come on.
Which, number one, but for every one of those, there's 200,000 people who didn't get it.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
Of course.
That's what they say on MSNBC and CNN, Jackie.
No,
so
that's the bullshit line that you're being fed by MAGA to say.
You guys don't know. You haven't done the research. You believe everything they tell you.
You said RFK was the guy. That was your research, and your research was completely wrong.
I'm not completely wrong about his position on vaccines and Fauci.
I'm not here to talk politics.
Too late, buddy.
It's such horseshit. It's such horseshit.
We are spiraling, but okay. I'm going to change. Let me change the topic to something a little different. Have you guys heard of this thing called spiraling, where you spiral?
No.
Okay. So there's this new thing now. They're saying that younger people like Gen Z and Millennials, that they're spiraling because they realize we don't know where the world's going. We don't know if we can ever keep a job. We're going to be laid off. So we might as well just spend our money and party and have fun and not worry about the future. And I see this with young people now, that no one's looking to buy a house. No one's looking to really get married.
Well, they had that when I was a kid. It was called college.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Have things changed that dramatically, or is it just that today's younger people are whiny little bitches that don't want to put in the hard work?
No, I don't know that situation, but I do know there are times where I say, I don't know where everything's going, but I think it's time to spend my money. But I'm old. If they just don't choose to, have a work ethic and put the time and trouble in because they think there's no future, I mean, that's pitiful and that's horrible. And that's thanks to, of course, social media and all that shit, because there's nothing more rewarding than having a job and making some money and going out and be able to buy something with the money you made. That I don't care, the poorest people, the richest people, whatever, doing something and being rewarded for it, whether it's talking to a girl at the bar and getting laid, or getting a job and making enough money to go to the movies. There's got to be some kind of payoff, and to just spiral is just, that's absolutely ridiculous. But I could see people, for years, I mean, I graduated so long ago, and like 30 years ago, I had, friends from college who say, God, I got a kid and he won't come out of the basement. He just sits down in the basement. And, some of them said they're smoking pot, but some of them say they just down there because, and this was a long time ago. So this has been festering for a long time. And now when you throw on top of it that it's hard to get a job, it's hard to do this, it's hard to do that, fuck them. Maybe I'll join them. Where is this spiral club?
Well, this is what, Walter and I have talked about, just to take it serious again real quick, that I don't know that America can withstand the way it's going now. I mean, I never thought I would see the country like this. And I'm really hoping that after this election, if
they said that in 1860, and they said that in 1920, and they said that in 1935.
Yeah.
That they say that every generation, like I'm listening to this book that is so great. I don't know if you guys are baseball fans. I was a baseball fan right up until I discovered women. But this book is called The New York Game. And it's the history of baseball from the very beginning, like 1820,
Yeah.
side by side with the history of New York City, and all along. And it's so detailed and so much going on. And there was so many times when the city was just such a fucking mess. Like, it's staggering to hear it because, you know, you just don't know about it. And but you know, then you turn the corner and it's a brighter day. Eventually. You know, nobody talks about the bodies piled up in the street and the horse shit that you can't walk around. That was then, and this is now. But you know, imagine if you walked out and there was nothing but dead bodies and horse shit. It'd be really easy to throw your hands up in the air and say, "I give up." You know,
Wait, wasn't that the RNC a couple weeks ago?
Don't be like that. Don't be like that. Fucking people.
But
no, things are weird, but
so you have faith in people. You have hope in people.
Well, yeah, because you, number one, I don't think you have any choice.
Yeah.
You know what? Doomsdaying makes no sense. You know, you go to a bar and you talk to a couple of girls and you don't get laid. Do you give up? Or do you come back the next night? I mean, you know, it's like, you know, there's a hope is a big word. You know,
Steve,
like of course you have to have it.
I agree with you totally that the hope is and being positive and optimistic is the smartest and wisest way to go. And then you have the greater chance of actually attracting and making positive things happen. I think one thing that's different with all the centuries you're talking about, where everyone thinks that this is the end, this is the end, this is the end. I think the internet and all the social media and technology I think that has made it more scary now. And
the internet's the greatest thing and the worst thing.
Because it's very possible, you know, now it's, instead of saying, oh no, the world's going to end, you know, now with the right flip of the switch, it really could. You know, it's so funny. It always makes me think of the same thing. There was a joke, I think in Esquire. It might have been Playboy. I'm pretty sure it was Esquire. But a guy was sitting there and it was like, you know, December 29th. And this little guy was sitting there with a sign saying, the world is going to end on December 28th. And he's sitting there all depressed. And the guy comes by and says, hey, pal, just because the world didn't come to an end doesn't mean the world's coming to an end. Which I just think is so fucking funny. It's just such perspective, you know.
But Walter, this is why I think comedy is so important. I mean, there are times if I'm in a shit mood, I'll literally go to YouTube. I'll put Jackie on, and Jackie will tell the funniest jokes, and they're completely politically incorrect. But it's like you feel better when you start laughing, and you said, and you go like, I can't believe he said that, but you're like, it's fucking funny, and you feel better. There's something about comedy that I mean, Jackie, do you see in the clubs? Are they afraid? Do you think are comedians afraid of saying anything?
You know, it's people getting they're on stage doing these shows on their one-man shows or whatever you call them. And they're all funny, and they're all stuff like, wow, I wish I had written that. That's really funny. That's really funny. But, you know, I don't know if is somebody going to sit there and laugh for 50 minutes at somebody that's doing introspective, you know, this sucks, that sucks. I mean, yes, it's smart and it's great, but to me, and that's why they call me a hack, you know, to me, my first job is to make people laugh. And after that, it's all whatever. It's not like be cool, have everybody respect you and think you're really hip. And if you get laughs along the way, that's fine. You know, maybe that's the way to play it. That's not how the way I play it is, you know, if you make people laugh their asses off, you know, when people come up and say that's the hardest I've ever laughed for an hour in my life, to me, that is all the reward. You know, it's not like, oh, you know what? I had troubles like that with my wife. Or, you know what? I totally understand. College was rough for me to fuck that. If they say I laughed because they get to come in and go outside of reality and just be stupid. You know, it's just like meditating.
But you know,
shutting the world out.
The thing about comedy, but also to your point, to both of your points, but Derek, is that comedy it brings people together. It unites people. You know, it makes them
all
laugh
laughing together.
Laugh at the stuff that are problems in society, that are problems with people or work or marriages or whatever. But it brings people together and makes them one. It unifies them. Now in our society now, comedy has become divisive because of.
See, but I was just going to say, last year I went to go see Andrew Schultz. He played the Improv in Brea, small club, 400 people. And Schultz is playing arenas now. Schultz did an hour on his jizz and knocking his wife up to get pregnant. And it was the funniest fucking 1 hour. I mean, the place was in hysterics. The guy was just riffing. And he didn't get into politics. He didn't get into social stuff. He was just riffing about stuff that he found funny, and it was fantastic.
And everybody can climb aboard that, because everybody's trying to get pregnant or has a wife or has a relationship or worries about, that's that I totally see. That's and it's the laughs. There's nothing funnier than couples. Whether you're a gay couple or a midget couple or fucking lesbians or
can you say midget
people. Yeah, I don't know if you can. I just did, but it's you'll never go wrong. I had an idea so long ago. Derek, you're enough of a maniac that I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you. I bet you'd be smart enough to try this. I've been to Japan a bunch of times with my friend Toby, because he books acts at the blue. There's a Blue Note in like Osaka and Tokyo and Fujiyama or whatever. I forget the names, but he would go over there with an act, and we'd go from city to city, and they do a night or two at each of these Blue Notes. And like we went time with the Isley Brothers. We went one time with Benny King, the guy who sang "Stand By Me" from the Drifters. Yeah. And a couple other times. So we go, and from my experience, most Japanese people don't speak English. You go to Amsterdam, half the people are speaking English. It's like you sometimes like, wow, I don't even feel like I left America. You want it a little bit more foreign, But Japan, like we couldn't get into a club one time. They wouldn't let me and Toby into a club. Oh, no, Japanese.
Yeah, they're very nationalistic in Japan.
And I'm like, holy Christ! So that's what it feels like. That was racist. Which is great. No, I meant great to experience. From that end. So we're watching. And Benny King is on stage, and the place is packed. And I'm telling you, these people don't speak any English. And every person in that, I'm checking it out. Every person in that goddamn audience sang along with every fucking word to the Benny King songs, like "Stand By Me" and "Save the Last Dance for Me." And they're all singing in English because they know the songs. And if you're a performer, and you see something like that, all you can think of is, I want a piece of this crowd. It's like when you see a comedian killing, you're like, God, I wonder if I would love to be up there killing. It's just one of those things, one of those drives. I'm like, wow, I'd love to get a piece of that Japanese crowd. And it dawned on me, I said, you know what? It'd be so funny because, like I just said, couple jokes are universal.
Yeah.
Since the first time a rock fell on a caveman's head and his wife giggled, just out of what else do you do? It's a nervous reaction. I don't care whether you're from Alaska, or if you're black people from Harlem, or you're a couple dwarfs, or you're two lesbians, no matter who you are, whatever couple, there is always going to be tension, because living together and trying to have a relationship as two people, I don't care. There is, if you're a decent couple, you fight. You just have to.
Yeah.
So my premise to myself was, I would love to go on that stage to open the show before whatever act with this packed house with an interpreter. Maybe, it might throw off some of the concentration. Picture a really pretty blonde American or a really pretty Japanese girl, whoever.
Yeah.
And
a pretty dwarf.
Pretty dwarf. I avoided saying that.
Japanese dwarf.
And is there such thing? How would you know? They're so fucking short anyway.
I was thinking the same thing.
Now you got me in trouble. So So I'm on stage, and here's this beautiful woman, and I'm going to tell my marriage jokes or my marriage stuff like one line at a time.
Yeah.
And then she's going to translate it. And then another line at a time. And she's going to like telling the Henny Youngman joke, you know, one line and she says it, and then, you know, shorter jokes, but not even necessarily. And, you know, I'm going to giggle all through the fucking thing.
Yeah.
And you know, when I get to the end, I'm going to laugh my ass off. And my friend Toby keeps telling me I'm crazy, but every time I'm with him, I'll explain this to somebody else, and they'll be like, that would be, I said, how could that not be interesting?
I think it's fucking hysterical.
Imagine videotaping that, and even if it bombed horribly,
yeah,
it's just so, I don't think anybody's ever done that. And you can do that in any non-English speaking country. I think I will not rest until one day I finally do that. So,
you know, that kind of sounds like an Andy Kaufman kind of thing that he might have done, you know, where he would just get on stage and like read a book or whatever, you know?
Well, it's very calculated, because you know, the thing is, I'm pretty sure you would know after the first joke or two if it had a chance.
I was just going to say,
you know?
What do you do if you get like no laughs?
Well, and you also don't know the sensitivity of the Japanese culture to a blowjob joke or a fighting with your wife joke. But marriage jokes are just so funny, and they are so universal. My gut feeling is I know it would be funny. Now, it would be funny.
If there was a Japanese Jackie the Joke Man or a Venezuelan Jackie the Joke Man, do you think that your jokes would go over if they said word for word? They didn't censor it. They told it exact, except they delivered in that language. Do you think they would go over?
You know, I don't know. I would love to find out. Long ago, you know, I've always had just a little bit too much money to chase these things down. I mean, like, you know, as I get old, I'm like, you know, don't, enough. Just sit the fuck down and go swimming and relax, you know.
Jackie, here's what we're going to do.
I thought of having franchising my act and teaching like 10 guys or girls how to do my act like me, like tell the jokes and laugh and you know, act it out just like you're in a fucking film, and then send them out, you know, like McDonald's franchise, you know, have people working as, you know, tonight, you know, Harry Smith as Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
Here's what we got to do. Next time you're in LA, I'm going to rent a hotel ballroom. We're going to get 20 Japanese tourists who speak no English. And we're going to do like a little test where you come on with an interpreter, and you're going to tell your jokes, and you're going to see how they respond, and then we're going to film it.
But we can't, I would love to do that, but we can't have a couple of friends, a couple of guests, a couple of Americans in it. You know, it's got to be sealed. You know what I mean? It's
absolutely no. It's going to be
controlled experiment.
We're going to call it a social experiment, so we can get away with it. But we're just going to get like 20 really serious Japanese people who don't know a word of English, and you're going to do your act in front of them.
Are you really going to be able to find people that don't speak any English?
I'm sure there's schools.
Well, you know what? Even if the experiment got fouled up, it still would work. You know, years and years ago, all those guys used to fuck around with each other, which I just loved hearing the stories. And Bob Hope was working, I don't know whether, you know, the Lowe's or, you know, one of the major theaters in Manhattan. And he came out to do his act, and the first 5 rows were sailors, and which he loved, because like that, you know, those guys always loved Hope. And he went out there and just fucking went right into the fucking toilet so badly.
Yeah.
Bing Crosby had gone and got a whole fucking boat full of Dutch sailors.
Yeah.
That didn't speak any English, and had them sit in the front, and they didn't have any idea what the fuck Hope. Oh my God! In the old days, it was the Wild West. In the early days, when there was no comedy clubs here, and me and my friend Richie, we started shows, and I'd bring my amplifier and put up shows in every little bar room on Long Island. And people weren't used to looking at other people the same age as them turned the wrong way, trying to be funny.
Yeah,
it was like what the fuck is this? And it was interesting, and it was impossible, but it was impossible for everybody. So
yeah,
that was fun.
So Walter, let me ask you now. Now we're going to wrap things up. Walter, has Jackie convinced you to either be a comedian or to vote for Harris? Which one?
Neither.
I'd love to be a comedian. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
You are incredible. You're incredible and incredibly funny. And I wish I was as funny as you. That's all I'm saying.
One of my favorite stories. It's actually in my book. That people, like, when you first start doing this and people see you're doing this, people would always come up after a show. To this day, they come up and say, "Hey, I want to be a comedian. What do I do?" And I always say, "Quit. Don't even think about it," which sounds rude.
Yeah.
But it's not.
It's tough.
Because if somebody says, "I want to be a comedian," and you tell them to quit, if me telling them to quit is enough to slow them down, they're in the wrong business.
Absolutely.
And I saw quotes from Matt Damon saying, people ask me about being an actor, and I say, "Don't do it. There's no security. You have to be out of your mind." And Sean Young said the same thing. So that was just my stock thing, about, you know what you do? You put some lines together. I just say, quit. Don't even think about it. And so that was my go-to answer forever, right?
Yeah.
So 1990, whatever year it would have been, we get a phone call from Jimmy Fallon on the Stern Show. And he's calling up to promote Almost Famous. I think he was one of the managers of the bands or something in Almost Famous. And he calls up to promote his, and by now I guess he's on Saturday Night Live. He's pretty popular. He's very well known by this time.
Yeah.
So he calls up and he says, "Yeah, Howard, I've never been on the show before." "Yeah, Jimmy, glad to have you on the show. That's great." He says, "Howard, I almost met you one time." And he said, "Really?" He says, "Yeah. A couple of years ago, you were running for governor, or you said you were going to run for governor in New York, and you guys piled into a bus and you all came up to Albany. And I live right outside of Albany. And I said, I want to go meet the guys." He says, "And I found out what hotel you were in." He said, "I went in and I walked in, and the only one there in the bar was Jackie." He says, "And I walked up and said, 'Hey, I want to become a comedian.' And Jackie told me to quit." So of course I didn't hear the end of that for weeks. Of course I never got to explain my rationale or why I did. Of course they're not going to let me explain my reasoning. Like, "Oh, Jackie's, what an asshole. Jackie didn't want to let him into the party." Like, oh. So, and Fallon loves that story, and I've run into him a bunch of times, and every time I've ever run into him, not for years and years.
Yeah.
But he said, "Jackie, that's the greatest story. Me and my friends love that story. And like, put me on the Late Show. Oh, just get a hold of me." And, I never got across. And that's a perfect panel story.
Yeah.
Because it makes him a hero. It makes me look stupid. But so I'll go on telling that story. So
that's great. Well, Jackie.
So Walter, if you want to be a comic, quit.
Well, Jackie, it's been a pleasure. I love you. I think you're the funniest fucking guy on the planet. I think you're a legend. And I mean, I've turned so many people on to listening to you, to watching you and whatnot. So it's been so much fun having you here. So thank you very much.
Oh, wait. Let me add too that I listened to Stern years ago when you were there, and you were unbelievable. I mean, you made that guy in a lot of ways. You made that guy. Well,
that's very nice of you to say, and I'd appreciate it if you'd say it again right now. No, thanks, Waldo. I appreciate that, and I'm glad to do this. It's nice to talk to you guys, and anytime, Derek. I owe you. I owe you. Put together the Chinese show, and we'll have a fucking free for all.
Okay, sounds like a plan. All right, for Walter Jacobson, I'm Derek Christopher. Our special guest, Jackie the Joke Man Martling. Thank you again, Jackie, and we'll see you guys next time.
All right, man.
I don't know what they have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter what it is or who commenced it, I'm against it.